If you're thinking about buying a DJI drone, and in particular the DJI Refresh Care Package, the replacement if your drone flies away, watch this video before you do anything. I'm Robert Anthony.
I'm Joelle Anthony.
This is Watson. In 2020, we felt God's call in our lives to do something incredibly radical.
In 2023, we sold our flower shop, our home, just about everything we owned, and purchased our Winnebago Flex RV.
This began our trek into the vast unknown. Our mission is to take you along, showing you things you otherwise may never be able to see.
We would be so thankful to have you follow along and become part of our adventures.
Now, let's get to today's video. Hey, what's up everybody? How you doing? I'm Robert Anthony. I am glad that you're here. Today I want to make a video to discuss with you and explain to you and perhaps open your eyes to a few issues should you be considering buying a DJI drone of any kind. I want to give you a little backstory on where my experience is coming from as it relates to this so that it'll make a little bit of sense. But in the end, what I hope to do is expose a few issues that you should be aware of before you pull the trigger on buying a very expensive piece of equipment, that being a DJI drone. Now, I am a professional photographer. I have been using DJI drones now for a number of years, a little bit of history so that you'll understand why I'm making this video for you today. My first drone started as a suggestion from a friend of mine. It started out with the Mavic Mini. So 2021, I bought the Mavic Mini, the first little tiny drone. And it worked out fine, a little bit difficult to fly in the wind. But one time when I was out flying it, after owning it for about 6 months or maybe 8 months, one of the props actually dislodged in flight. It wasn't anything I had done. It had just dislodged in flight. And that drone did a beeline to the ground and crashed and was rendered irreparable. It broke a couple of the arms. The body casing had become cracked. There was no way that I was going to be able to replace it. Talked to DJI. DJI wasn't super cooperative about it, but they wouldn't warranty it. Lesson learned. That's when they told me about the DJI Refresh Package. Now, if you go to the DJI website and you start looking at any of their products, they promote heavily the DJI Refresh Package. What the Refresh Package is it's basically a replacement policy should your drone become rendered unusable. Maybe you crash it into a tree, or you fly it into a lake, or you're flying around mountains like what I do, and it has something happen and you can't get to it, you can't reach the drone, and it's gone. I thought that this policy was a great thing. In fact, a fellow pilot had recommended buying the DJI Refresh policy because he could fly and not have to worry. Now, DJI, through their marketing, presses the fly without worry, in particular now with the drones with the omnidirectional sensors, you know, top, bottom, front, back, and now they're coming out with side sensors. You basically you're supposed to be able to fly these things without ever having to worry. Certainly, you're flying a very expensive device out of reach most often, and that seems like a sensible thing. They kind of make it dummy-proof. You can't really crash them. Well, I learned a little bit about the Refresh program the hard way. Let me explain to you what happened to me. So I had purchased an Air 2, and then I bought a subsequent Air 2s, transferred the Refresh package to the Air 2s, and I was out flying in the Tequamanon Falls area in Michigan, and an eagle attacked my drone, grabbed it, destroyed it, and dropped it in the river. Well, according to the website, the Air 2s refresh policy costs $99, and the replacement is $119. So I reached out to DJI, I established a flyaway case, and DJI then subsequently said, yeah, okay, so when you ship the drone back to us, we'll review it and we'll go over it and we'll make sure that it falls within the parameters of the replacement refresh policy, and then we'll ship you your new drone, but you have to ship it to us. I said, well, it's in the middle of a river. I can't possibly ship it to you. They said, well, okay, the replacement policy is $499. And I did a double take. Well, if you look in the fine print of any of the refresh policies, you're going to pay your fee for a 1 or a 2 year policy. On the Air 2s, it's $99. You're going to pay $119 if you can retrieve the drone. If you can't retrieve the drone, you're going to pay $499 to get a drone back. The math is this: $499 if it's an unretrievable device, $99. So you're at $600 right now to get a drone. And at this moment in time, you can buy a refurbished drone from DJI for $679 if you're looking at an Air2s. Most of us, you included probably, are going to be buying the Refresh package because you fly your drone out of reach. That's why we buy drones. We don't fly a drone so I can fly it over here and take a picture of this tree 10 feet above the ground, and if it crashes into the tree, I can come up here and take it out. I'm flying around mesas like that over there, or down in canyons where it's rendered irretrievable if I can't get it. You need to know these numbers. Now, I was considering, not now, of buying a Mavic 3 Classic because the recent events have just taken place. So you'll notice here's my DJI Air2s case. You'll notice all the batteries, the RC controller that I invested $400 in when it came out new, and you'll notice the Air2s is now precariously absent. That's because 3 days ago, while I was flying up at the Moki Dugway, which is a huge mesa, the DJI took off and I flew around a rock formation, turned it around so I could do a backup shot, and it lost connection with the controller. Now, one of the things that DJI promotes in their marketing material is you can fly totally and 100% worry-free. When you fly, you can rest assured that if you lose connection with the controller, the device will fly back to its home point to you. While it's flying back, its obstacle sensors in all directions are going to keep it from hitting anything while it's coming back, and it will fly around them. Well, in this situation, I was flying the Air2s, which has reverse and forward sensors, as well as top and bottom sensors. Now, I can't tell exactly what happened with regard to this flight, but when I turned around backwards, it lost connection to the controller. It should have immediately stopped, figured out what was going on, risen, flown back to me. That's not what happened. It looks like it kept flying. And then it looks like it backed up perhaps into a rock, crashed and went into the ravine, which I can't retrieve it. According to DJI's marketing, that should never have happened because it has a rear-facing sensor. It should have immediately picked up that it was flying into something. It should have stopped, and it should have returned to me because it had lost connection with the controller. None of that happened. Reached out to DJI. They wanted to see the flight log. And according to this email that you see here, they're not willing to do anything because I was about 15 days outside of the year refresh policy that I had bought. And even if I was within the refresh policy, it would have cost me $499 to get a $679 refurbished drone sent to me to replace that drone. So at this point, because I can't retrieve that drone, I'm a little bit disenfranchised with DJI. Now, I own a lot of DJI products. I own a Mini. I own an Air2. I've owned 2 Air2Ss. I'm filming this on an Osmo 6 gimbal. I've got their microphone system here, and I also have an RC controller. Now, as a professional photographer, I was thinking about buying the Mavic 3 because I love the concept that it has Hasselblad lenses on it, which is the best lens that money can buy. And I love doing professional photography with my drone. But I'm having second thoughts about that. As an example, the Mavic 3, right now, if you were to pick it up, is going to cost you anywhere between about $1,500 and $2,000. Well, if you do the Refresh package for the Mavic 3, this is what it looks like according to the DJI website. It's $159 for the 1-year policy of the Mavic 3. If you crash the drone and can retrieve it, and again, not realistic. We're buying these refresh policies because we're flying away into areas that we probably can't get to if the drone crashes. The replacement policy is $519 if you can't send the drone back to them. So you got $500, $600, $700 that you're investing. And I will tell you, my experience with going through and jumping through the hoops to get the Eagle drone replaced that the Eagle destroyed, it was a nightmare for a week going back and forth with them. It's not just we'll replace it. It's we're going to do, in my view, in my opinion, we're going to do everything we can do to avoid having to replace this without you having to spend a significant amount of money. I can buy a refurbished Air 3 or a Mavic 3, a refurbished Mavic 3 for $1,025. Now that is just a drone with the controller and the battery, but I'm just making this video because I want to tell you two things. Two instances with my experiences with their drones malfunctioned and didn't do what they were supposed to do. Now, in the most recent instance with the Air2s, they said, well, you know, if it's windy, the battery could go bad. If it's cold, it could affect the battery's ability to return to home and everything else. Well, you can see here, my battery was full. I flew for less than a minute and a half. That drone wasn't even 200 yards from me when it dropped out of the sky. There's no reason that battery was full. Again, we're just going to make excuses. On top of the fact that they refused to even look at the flight data because I wasn't within the warranty period or the refresh period. So they stopped looking at the data for free. In other words, according to the email, the way I understand it, if you pay us, we'll review the data. Well, my experience in dealing with them in the past, as it relates to having to argue with them about the fact that an eagle, an act of God, if you will, took my drone out of the sky, having to argue with them back and forth for a week or better, it just was unreasonable what they were requiring for me to get that replacement. The bottom line at the end of the day is I'm now actually thinking about the possibility that I'm not going to be buying any more drones. That is an expensive piece of equipment as a camera. You know, if you bought the Mavic 3 Pro, you're going to spend $2,500. That's a crap ton of money. That's a lot of money. And they malfunction. And if they malfunction, even though the company talks about in all of their marketing and advertising on their website that you can fly worry-free, you better worry. If you lose that drone in an area where you can't retrieve it, like those ridge lines over there or in a lake, you're going to be forking out serious cash to get your drone back. That's the bottom line. Even if you can retrieve it, I believe you have to pay the shipping. They may reimburse you, but I'm not sure to get it back, and you've got the inconvenience of that. I do not believe, in my experience with the Air2s, that the marketing that they push with these things is totally true. And I've learned my lesson. I typically don't buy extended warranties of any kind on any product because my experience has been, whether it's an automobile, an RV, a washing machine, a refrigerator, a TV, or now a drone, they do everything within their power to not warranty. I want you to come away from this understanding what you're getting into. If you want to get into flying a drone, if you want to buy a DJI product, I love their product. I love, you guys know, you follow my channel. I love flying. I love doing photography, and I love doing video with the drone. Don't know if I want to give them any more money, in particular, like with the Mavic 3, getting up to $1,500, another $2,000, knowing that there's a very good chance because I'm a Part 107 pilot. I'm proficient. I fly legally. I don't do things that are risky. But you know what? Like the other day with the Air2s 3 days ago, I was doing nothing other than flying. That's it. And flying really conservatively, just trying to get a little quick video. Planned on being done in 2 minutes. Minute 45 seconds into that flight, that drone was gone. Irretrievable. But if you're thinking about buying a DJI drone, in particular, you're thinking about buying that Refresh package, you need to know the fine print and what it's going to cost you should something happen to that drone. Just a public service. I just wanted to make clear what my experience has been. If you own a DJI drone, what's your experience been? Have you run into this type of situation like what I've run into? Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear if you have any suggestions on how I could deal with this, or if you have any thoughts. Because again, I love doing photography now. I love being able to get up to various angles and boy, be able to shoot with a Hasselblad lens. I love it. Don't know if I want to spend a couple $1,000s to do it, based on the fact that there's always a chance that something's going to happen, and that drone's going to drop out of the sky, or it's going to be irretrievable for some reason, God forbid. You're basically out the money, is really what it boils down to. I hope you found this video helpful. If you made it this far, this video right here is a video that YouTube thinks that you want to see next. This playlist here is all things photography. In there is some DJI stuff, and if you click the circle, you're subscribed. I'd love to have you on board. I'll see you in the next one. Rob out.